Hey, what's up? It's Mykill Metal, and this is episode 6 of my Kerbal space program series. This is the Laythe lander that I'm launching in orbit right now, and it's heading up unmanned. I'm going to be joining it with the Laythe Traveler ship, which I'm going to be launching in a minute. Right now I'm going to separate the boosters. There we go. And get set up for a 625 kilometer orbit. I love using the 5-meter rocket parts. It's awesome. There we go with the fairings. And once I get it set up in orbit, I'm going to straighten it out and detach. And get far enough away. And flip it north and south so it's easier to dock with once I send up the second ship. There we go. Now I'm going to get set up to launch the next ship, which is basically a Saturn V inspired design. There we go. I'm going to send the Kerbals over from the tower. And detach the ramp. And lift off. Right as I lift off, I tipped away from the towers a little bit so I didn't hit them. Which is kind of similar to what the Saturn V actually did on its launches. I'm going to get set up for gravity turn. And burn directly along the horizon until I get a decent orbit out of this. And once I get set up in orbit, I'm going to get it in nice and close. Kind of blow by it a little bit, that's not too bad. Just bring it right back in. And get it set up for docking. Once I get it in close enough, I can use the RCS and bring it on over. And line it up. And bring it in nice and slow. And I'm docked. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it up over towards the prograde node, and I'm going to get ready for the burn. I did a couple of more things. I added a couple of more experiments while it was in orbit, but I cut those out because it's kind of doesn't really flow with the rest of the video. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to burn out towards Joule after I did that. And once I get there, I spend about 5 to 7 minutes burning to kill off the excess velocity so I can circularize. I'm not going to make you sit through that entire burn. That was a really long burn. And once I'm done with that, I got it set up for a rendezvous with the station that I already had set up. And bring it in nice and close. And once I do that, I'm going to separate and use each vehicle separately to dock, because it's kind of how I have to do it. I probably could have added an extra docking node as to where I could put both on the same docking node, but no. It's more fun this way. There we go. I'm not sure where that yellow arrow is coming from. It's popping up right next to the crew capsule, but whatever. There we go. Get this centered and bring it in nice and slow. Once I get that docked, I'm going to transfer over some fuel. And I'm going to send a Kerbal over to the lander so he can pilot it and bring it in for docking. There we go. Get this lined up and use the RCS to bring it in. And once I get it centered on the alignment indicator, I'm going to bring it straight in. There we go. About 10 meters out. And right as I get to it, I'm going to slow down a little bit, and we're docked. And then I sent out another fuel tank because I ran a little bit low on fuel. And I forgot to put RCS on it, so I'm going to take this ship and I'm going to connect. I'm going to use this one to help it dock, because this one actually has RCS on it. Which is kind of a screwed up maneuver because it's really off balance this way, but I gotta make do with what I got. So transfer some fuel over and try to make it balanced and bring it in nice and slow. Try to center it without wobbling too much. And then bring it in at about like 0.1. There we go. And docked. Sweet. Now that I'm done with that, I'm going to send the Kerbals over and get them set up for landing. Once I get him over there, I'm going to check the fuel levels, make sure it's full, and detach. Get set up for re-entry, or entry technically, because I haven't left this planet or moon yet. So there we go. I'm going to be aiming for a little flat spot on the other side of this lake right here. And as soon as I drop my speed low enough, I'm going to pop the chutes. There we go. Drop the gear. And hope it doesn't tip over when it hits the ground. I'm going to use the engines to slow it down just a little bit more. There we go. And we're landed. I've successfully landed on a moon that is orbiting another planet. This is awesome for my first interplanetary trip. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple of the experiments and finish the contracts. Well, most of the experiments for the contracts, because I still had to do one that was attached to a probe that I sent into orbit. That was the atmospheric analysis one. I did that later. I'm not sure if I put that in the video or not. Doesn't matter either way. Alright, so once I'm done with the experiments and I got the contracts, what I'm going to do is I'm going to EVA. I'm going to extend the ladders first. I'm going to EVA and I'm going to plant a flag. I'm going to test the gravity by jumping a little bit. It's a little less than Kerbin, but it's still pretty good. And I'm going to name this Bill's Beachfront Resort. And I'm going to send a bunch of more stuff over here and possibly set up a colony, which would be awesome. But for now, he's done, so he's going to head back up here. And Wilsey, the other Kerbal, is going to head out after taking a view from the cockpit. Wilsey is going to head out and go towards the lake, because he's going to do a little swimming and he's going to do a couple experiments. There we go. Now, this was kind of odd, because I expected him, as soon as he got into the water, I expected him to start swimming, because that's just kind of like what I would expect. But apparently he just kind of clips through the water and walks along the bottom. Well, he's got an EVA suit on, so it's not terrible, but I would like to swim a little bit. And once he's done with that, he's going to head back and run into a little bit of a problem. This is from the clip that I released. The ship randomly decided to float away as I came out of Time Warp, but luckily I quick-saved so I could revert and bring it back. And once I did that, I figured it's good enough, I got enough science, and I finished most of the contracts, so it's time to head back up to orbit. There we go. It has a really low thrust-to-weight ratio, so I kind of have to keep it vertical for most of the flight until I get enough speed. I'm going to drop those. There we go. And then once I'm done with the burn, I'm going to set it up for rendezvous. Bring it in. And dock back with the station. And once I do that, I'm going to take one of the Kerbals, and he's going to be grabbing some of the experiments that I didn't send back for the contracts. He's going to do an experiment real quick with the mystery goo. There we go. And he's going to head around and grab all of the data that he can find. And then after that, he's going to head up and get back into the transport ship and wait for Bill to come back. Or Wilsey, sorry. That was Bill. This is Wilsey. And once they get set up in the cockpit, they're going to prepare for the return back to Kerbin. There we go. Close that. Turn around and burn away a little bit. And I'm going to make the return back to Kerbin. Here's that burn. Actually, this was the return back to Jewel, but I cut out the return burn to Kerbin because that's a little bit too much for the video. And once I get back into Kerbin orbit, I'm going to detach. I'm going to I had that set up for a 26 or 27 kilometer periapsis, which means that it's just enough so that it doesn't create too much stress on the vehicle, and it's enough to get set up for landing. I'm only at about 5 Gs at the max, so this is a pretty decent return. There we go. And once I get low and slow enough, I'm going to pop the chutes. And that's going to be it for this one. So if you liked the video, leave a like, comment, subscribe. And next time, I will be bringing you a Mooner mining base. So check it out.
Other one's behind a tree. Got one. He's down. He's down.
I see it.